today I'm outside and I thought I would take you to one of my favorite places. This is a knight's castle. Right here is the tower, and right there you can see is like an underground entrance or something. And I am sitting here in a place like this is kind of like a theater area, and I'm sitting where the benches are. And yeah, I thought it's a wonderful day. Finally we have a day with sunshine and not that much wind, and now the sun is coming out. Anyway, we'll just deal with it. I thought I would do my July recap. I know it's overdue, but who cares? So, what did I do in July? In July was my birthday month, and so for my birthday I did get quite a few tarot decks and books, and I have a video where I show everything that I got, and I'm going to link it either somewhere up there in the cards or in the description box. And I also celebrated my 25-year witchyversary. So that's a quarter of a century living the spiritual life. That's a lot. So yeah, I didn't really use any of my decks in July. I didn't read any tarot, I didn't read any books. Mostly that was because the tinnitus in my ear was getting pretty bad, and so I started a ginkgo treatment. Unfortunately, I have to wait at least 8 weeks to find out if it helps at all. And yeah, we'll see what happens. What did I do in July? I started making videos again after a 5 months hiatus, and it was fun. I started with the 7 Days 7 VR challenge from Y on the Cusp Tarot, and that gave me the opportunity to finally cross some of the hashtags off my list that I wanted to do anyway, and so I just combined two things in one. Instead of reading with my decks, I started trimming a few of my decks. I'm still in the process of trimming my mystical manga. I'm halfway through that, and that is a little bit tricky because I'm keeping some of the border, and I will do a follow-up so that I can show you exactly what I mean. But the major arcana and the minors and the court cards all have different frames, so that's a bit tricky, but I will show you that in a follow-up video. Mercury retrograde. That was July. And for the first time I really paid attention to it, and of course I noticed a lot of things. Usually I don't really pay attention to it. It's just like Friday the 13th, nothing really happens. But this time the computer was acting up and there was a lot going on. Not just at home, but in the world in general. I mean, this time I really noticed it. So I think I'll just not pay attention to it next time so that I won't notice that much. The only thing I have always done during Mercury retrograde is making sure that I don't sign any contracts, because that's not really a good thing to do, I learned. But other than that, nothing ever really happened during retrograde. But as soon as we got out of that, like on the last day of July and moving into the 1st and 2nd of August, I noticed a little bit more creativity, and so I finally started with a big project, and that is making my own tarot deck. And I was thinking for quite a while, like, what kind of deck would I like to make? And I found one topic that really interests me, and that is of interest to me: grammar. And so I started taking notes and writing down ideas, what kind of things I would choose for the suits, and something I also have to find out if I can actually do the artwork, or if it's going to be something that I do myself, if it's going to be photo collage. So it's a project that is probably going to take 1, 2, 3 years, I don't know. But I'm in no rush. It's a fun project for me. And yeah, I'll just see what happens with that, and I'll keep you updated. But mostly July was a month of reflection for me, because I work in a job where I work for an entire season from mid-late August to end of June, beginning of July, and then I have like a 6-7 week summer break. And just before my summer break, we found out, in 2022, in the summer, the current CEO of the company where I work is going to retire. And just before we got to the summer break, we found out who the new CEO is going to be. And well, there are two kinds of contracts at the company where I work. The first one is kind of like public servant or something. Once you have that job, you have it for life. You can't really be fired unless you do something really damaging to the company, but you can't be fired for being lazy or rude or, not smart enough. They don't do that. They can't. And even if they would fire you, you could probably go to court and sue your way back in. You wouldn't win the popularity contest, the Employee of the Month, but it's really hard to kick someone out of that contract. And the other kinds of contracts, and that's the one that I have also, is one that is always for 12 months, and then at the end of that it's always renewed automatically, or they tell you 8-9 months in advance that it's not going to be renewed. And I think about around 25 to 30% of all employees have these kind of contracts. And so when the new CEO starts in summer 2022, he has the opportunity to replace everyone who has one of these yearly contracts. And so my thought process is, I don't really know what I wish for. Do I want them to keep me and continue my job? Because as of now, it's my dream job. I love it. I love my work. But I'm also kind of moving into I'm thinking maybe it's time for something new. So maybe I want this to end so that I can get a completely different career. And I'm kind of torn between that. So a lot of July I spent just thinking, okay, what's my plan A, what's my plan B, and even plan C. But making all the plans doesn't really help if you don't know what your heart's desire is. So yeah, I think I got 2 more years to figure that out, because around maybe September, October in 2021, we will know who gets to stay and who has to leave. But one of the things that I hate the most is uncertainty. I don't like that at all. I always want to know what's going on, and even if it's not good or pretty, but I at least want to know. So the next 2 years are going to be kind of a challenge for me, because I've never had this much uncertainty. But it gives me time to figure out what I want and what I'm leaning towards. I mean, right now, part of me says, why not just start over and do something completely new? I've never had a 9-to-5 job, because I work as a video journalist, and for 7 years I have worked at a news station where I would make news every day. like a reporter, and after that, well, in 2015 I switched to the company where I'm at now, and now I make marketing videos. And like in summer 22, that will also be 7 years. And that's kind of funny, because I was taught a long time ago that every 7 years your taste changes, or the way you want to live. So every 7 years is kind of like a breaking point where people start to do things differently. And so this job will end after 7 years, possibly. So maybe it is time to move into a new chapter, a new career, maybe. I don't know. I have some time to figure that out. But this also gives me time to really focus on my spiritual work, because when I started last summer watching TarotTube, because apparently I've been living under a rock and I didn't know it existed, I lost my thought. Oh, so last summer when I started, I was kind of catching up with everything that I had missed for 10 years before that, because the last tarot deck, or anything tarot related, that I ever bought was around 2007, and that was my new Mythic Tarot. And up until that point I had my 5 decks, and that was it, and that was fine. And after I didn't get my Atlantis Tarot, I kind of stopped looking at things. And also being in university, and at one point having 3 jobs on the side, I didn't really have time to study anything. I didn't have the energy, and I just didn't feel like it. And so for about 10, 11 years, I didn't buy anything. The only thing that I bought was one book. I think it was the Grimoire of the Green Witch, or the Green Witch Grimoire, that came out in 2015. I got myself this one book, and that was it. And so when I found TarotTube and I saw all these new and pretty decks, for the past 12 months, 13 months, I've been shopping. I've been catching up on everything that I've missed in those 10 years, and I'm now at a point where I think, okay, I want to focus more, I want to zoom in on what I actually want, and I've narrowed it down to 3 subjects that I want to study. So, whereas everyone was having their depth year in 2019, I think my depth year is coming up for 2020 and 2021. I think I'm going to take about 2 years for that, which is perfect, because now I'm at a point where I need to figure stuff out. And I think a depth year, or 2 depth years, could really help. This doesn't mean that it's going to be a no-buy year, because if I see something that would benefit my specific studies, I'm definitely going to get it. And if I see something that is like a limited edition of something, of course I'm going to get it if I want it. But I have 3 things that I want to study, and that to me will be my depth years. So yeah, that was my July. Okay, what do other people talk about? They talk about what kind of books they read. I didn't read any books, because I couldn't, because that ringing in my ear was just too loud. What did I watch? I watched the 3rd season of Stranger Things. Was okay. What I liked was the bromance between Steven and Dustin, when they did their surveillance. And the younger guy was telling the older guy how to get the girl and how to get his shit together. Priceless. But what I was disappointed with was the story arc that they gave Billy. I mean, he was an asshole, and I was hoping they wouldn't make him the bad guy in the next season. Kind of like Steve, and like in the first season he was kind of an asshole, but then he redeemed himself. I didn't expect Billy to be like BFFs with everyone all of a sudden and be Mr. Nice Guy. But at least I was hoping that someone else would be the bad guy and that he would just, I don't know, maybe make more sense. I mean, what's the point in giving him a backstory if you only use it for like 2 minutes? So that was my thought. And yeah, I was hoping that something good would come out of that backstory, and I don't know if I like this whole thing about people with a specific initial of their names, that they all suffer a specific fate that's kind of predictable. And I don't really remember if there's going to be a season 4, but I saw a video where they talked about a certain theory for season 4, and I was thinking that in the same moment when I saw the show. And I think that could very well be possible. So if there is a next season, I hope they explore that possibility. So, yeah. I think that's pretty much it. Okay. Well, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!